There's three things. I was just coming home, and three things that the Lord was talking to me about this evening. And number one is, people, a lot of married couples that we work with, they tend to think that it's only them that has challenges, issues that they have to overcome and walk through some things. And so we want to let people know that they're not alone, and that it's a common thing in marriage to work it out, walk it out, and to strive to thrive and continue to get better and grow closer in connection and in intimacy. The second thing is that, people need hope, and hope and inspiration that they can, and that if they put in the work and they believe and have faith in Jesus and do what he's saying to do and listen to the Holy Spirit, that things will get better. And then thirdly is the practical side of things, right? And there is prayer, and there is obviously faith and belief, but there's also action. And we're co-laborers with Christ. And so there's also things that we have to do in order to bring about the breakthrough that sometimes we're seeking. So I was just getting that, and that's part of the other reason why I think these interviews are so powerful, and they're going to travel. So where we thought we'd start, Mando and Marcia, is really, you've been married 20 years, and you have 6 children. Mm-hmm. And Mando, you lead Ekballo Pasadena, and you two obviously work in that ministry and lead that ministry together. And I know in your bio, you talked about loving to have your children minister with you. So we thought we'd just open up a little bit about your call in life, which is Ekballo, your family, and then also Hope, California, which is something that we're also able to partner on together. So maybe a little bit about that, Mando and Marcia, if you would just introduce yourself for those folks listening in.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, our screen is kind of blurry a little bit, but yeah, so good to be with you guys. I know you mentioned three different things, but we are definitely, we've been married 20 years, and there's been a lot of, obviously there have been challenges, and there have been a lot of things, but God has, we feel like God has been there with us the whole time. It's been actually a wonderful 20 years, probably the best 20 years of my life. And so, and I don't know if you can say the same. Yeah. So, and we enjoy doing ministry together as a couple, but also as a family. We have 6 children, and one thing that we want to do is live by example to our children, and just love Jesus as a family, and live together, live life together. And that includes everything, including ministry. And so we've been in full-time ministry the last 7 years. And honestly, we homeschool, so that makes it possible. We travel quite a bit. And so I think our family, there's a lot of positives to being in ministry. There's obviously a lot of challenges, a lot of people around, things like that. So sometimes the family is like, hey, we need time for ourselves. So there are challenges that come out of it, but we try to keep our boundaries, as we minister. And we can talk more about that, but I wanted to just let Marcia share a little.
Yeah, so we do enjoy including our children in ministry. We feel like our first ministry is to our family. And then through that, God uses the family to minister to the world. And so all of our children, our oldest is 16, our youngest is 19 months. And we pray together. I teach my children at an early age. I just pray in the spirit around the house. We teach them to pray, read the Bible, make sure they have a Bible that's easy for them to read. We pray and read the word in the morning, and in the evening we sing. And so we just, whatever my relationship with God is, I just live it on my kids and mentor them and grow them into doing the same thing that I do and that we do together.
Yeah. We've, we also love having family traditions that we try to keep as much as possible, weekly traditions. We have family nights where we're going out as a family on a family kind of date or outing, or, staying in, watching movies together, things like that. So as long as we keep our hearts connected with one another, especially with the traveling. Sometimes recently with Hope, California, I've been doing a lot of traveling, and that can be a challenge being away from the family. But, staying connected, quality time when we have it. In fact, that's what we're doing this weekend or this week, spending time together, trying to keep our hearts connected with fun, not just ministry or, work. So, yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, you talked about staying connected, Mando, and that's one of the things that is so vital in a healthy relationship is that heart connection. Maybe is there a time where maybe you realize that the importance of that and things that you've done or things that you actively do? You're giving an example of this weekend, but just over the course of 20 years, the realization of the importance of that connection and practical things that you're doing to make sure you keep it strong.
Well, some of this I think was we were trained by my dad has a story, and this is something that we've learned. I'm one of 7 children, and something that we learned from my dad and my mom regarding raising a family. But this is true for marriages as well. So there's a story where I think he read somewhere, Dr. Dobson or something, that if any of your children can't look you in the eye, then there's a possibility that you've lost the heart connection. It's really easy as a parent. It's really easy as a parent to, like, when you see your kids, you're around your kids, for it, to there to be correction, like do this, do that, or direction, like, hey, we need this done, we need that done, go do your schoolwork, things like that. And sometimes that can be the majority of the conversation. And even in marriage, a lot of times work or tasks can be, we have this to do, we have to go here, we have to do that. And so our conversations are more functional or task oriented than relational, right? And so anyway, as the story goes, my dad came home, and he I'm one of 7 children, so he took each child into a room and just said, "Hey, look in my eyes." And I think 1 or 2 of his boys could not look him in the eyes, and his heart just dropped, and he realized, I've lost their hearts, And so that after that, my parents started implementing something called days, where they would take basically each of the 7 kids, 1 day a week. We would get a day where we'd get to spend time with dad or mom, with quality time, quality time just relationally. And that's become kind of a tradition in all of our families, Matthews tribes. We spend quality time beyond the task-oriented times, right? And so obviously for marriages, that's like, being really consistent with date nights and things like that. Excuse us for the lighting and stuff here. But being very consistent with date nights, things like that. But even with kids, making sure that, my kids, I this is not funny, but one of my little boy the other day, he said, "You haven't taken me to go get a donut in a long time." And so I know, like, I got to go do that, because that's how we connect. And so I have to have my date days, my daddy donut date days with my kids, as well as my wife, in order to keep the hearts connected in the midst of busyness, And so that's very, very important.
Yeah, that's really good. Something that is so sweet your son saying, "You haven't taken me to get donuts." Where I'm kind of headed with that question, where I'm going is communication, Mando, and the importance of healthy communication. And I'm just wondering if you have any, journey or stories to share around the communication, because what that kind of suggests to me is that your son feels comfortable in letting you know what's on his heart and sharing that with you, which is so precious when it comes to connection and figuring out, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to disappoint you or frustrate you. But if I don't know where you're at, it's very difficult for us to kind of walk in relationship. So just maybe your journey of communication and any insight that you might have there.
Well, you're so right. Communication is key. And when we first got together and we were just dating, Mondo was it was very difficult for him to speak and say what he wanted. He didn't even know what he wanted. He's the middle child. And, there are different dynamics that led him to the place in life where he didn't even really know what he felt and what he wanted. And so therefore, it was hard for him to even put words together to be assertive. And so assertiveness is so important to us. Assertiveness, my definition is being able to speak what you feel and what you want.
Mhm.
And so when we were dating, I happened to be at that time, I was working on my degree in social work. And so he was my client, if you will. And we would sit on the phone and I would ask him, how do you feel? And, do you feel this way or that way? And all of that. Well, we started out that way 19 years ago.
No, it was 20,
no,
20,
22,
25 years
23.
ago,
Yeah.
Yeah, we were dating.
Yeah, we were dating. And so we dated for about 5 years and we had a lot of time to work on those issues. And so communication, we are very intentional in our home about creating an environment in which people our kids and each other, we can communicate what we feel and what we want without feeling any negative way toward it. So we try to really create a safe environment in which the other person can come to us and state their feelings and their desires, and then being heard. And so we've been really intentional about creating that environment. And yes, so our children are very verbal and they say what they want and what they like and what they don't like. So we actually have to teach them how to have a little bit more decorum and that kind of thing.
Well, she trained me on communicating what I liked and didn't like and all of that. And it got to be so I started expressing my feelings and emotions so well while we were dating that she was like, I don't care what you feel.
That's funny.
It's like, I thought
Yeah.
you wanted to know what I felt.
Yeah.
So anyway, we also, I would say this was very helpful for us, is a commitment. It's a commitment to make sure, to not let the sun go down on our wrath. So what that means is if there's any offense or any, hurt, pain that comes up, that we're communicating that as quickly as we can. And if we can't talk about it that day, at least we're making an arrangement to talk about it. So, hey, that hurts, or can we talk about that tomorrow? And just making sure that we are not letting things that we're dealing with, those as quickly as we can. Because the longer those offenses and those pains and things stay under the surface, the bigger they become, and molehills literally become a mountain.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since we've had, I think our first couple years of marriage, we had some pretty big like shakedown arguments.
Yeah.
It's like we were we were fighting each other,
Yeah.
and that was before we fully knew how to fight fair,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there would be times where we'd be insulting each other and stuff like that. But we've learned not to do that. But part of that is we don't let stuff build up like crazy anymore, where it's like we haven't really talked or expressed ourselves for 3 months and then you just blow up, and which a lot of times couples, we do that, and, when you work on that habit of sharing and communicating, hey, this really bothers me. And you're doing that on a regular basis, and even if it's not every day, but don't let the sun go down. That's the best practice, right? Even if it's daily, don't let it go down. Don't let it go down with wrath or anger or whatever it is in your heart towards your spouse.
Yeah, that's really good.
So powerful.
Do you have a question? Because I can keep going. So I get questions as I listen, and the next area that you talked about, that I heard was caring. I heard some of that about, or the commitment, but the caring for each other. And you're serving all of these. So we have this framework, Mando, and I think it's Marcia. Is it Marcia, not Marcia? Is that the proper way to say your name?
Marcia.
Marcia. I want to say it right. So I heard Mando say it, and I was like, I didn't say it that way.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
But I think that there's 7 C's for collaboration, and you've already hit on 3 of them. You talked about communicating, you talked about connection, and you talked about commitment as being critical, and you haven't even seen the framework. So it's clear these things work and you're doing it right. So congratulations.
We haven't been married for 20 years for no reason.
Exactly. And smiling and laughing and still growing.
Yeah.
The caring for each other is also a critical area for a healthy relationship. And early on in our relationship, I'll just give a quick example. I used to care for Trisha in ways that she didn't care about. And it created tension in our relationship because I'm showing you, hey, here's how I love you. And she's like, but that's not how I receive love. And so the ability to understand each other and what matters to us. So I don't know if there's a question there, but maybe just your thoughts about the aspect of caring for one another and how you've kind of been able to work that out and understand each other to that level.
Yeah, I think that reminds me of the love languages, the 5 love languages. And I read a study that suggested that if a person's primary love language is not hit, is not, if I don't show love in their primary love language way, I can hit all other 4, and that person will still walk away saying, I never felt love. And so I think that's important to know each other's. I know for us, his is
Quality time.
That's his primary. And that's probably my 5th. So
so Mondo's having a great time right now.
I know.
But I had to learn that. I had to learn that from experience. I remember one time I think I really got the message. One birthday, I planned to give him the best birthday ever, and I got him a gift. That's gifts. A very sentimental gift, very thoughtful gift. I made him his favorite food. That's a service. I did several other things, but I did not. And so at the end of the day, he said, this has been great, but are we gonna do anything? And I thought, what are you talking about? We've been celebrating your birthday all day. Well, for him, it didn't include people. I just gave him a bunch of stuff and made him a nice meal. And to him, he was really lacking. And so I called over his brothers and we had a little party. And so I think it's important to be good students of each other.
Yeah, that's good.
I think there's a scripture in the Bible that says for husbands to live with your wife according to knowledge. And I like to think that means find out all about them. I need to find out all about him. He loves service. He loves, various things like that, and become a good student, and then lay down what I like all the time. And do what makes him feel loved.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to ask, so I know you all are very busy homeschooling and ministry, and I mean, you just have a lot going on. So how do you find you're managing that? If you find, like, let's say you feel like stress is increasing, or maybe there's family demands, there's, ministry demands, so many different demands. How do you balance that and still, find yourself being able to still stay connected and not allow that to, overwhelm your relationship or your family?
I believe that God gives a grace to families that are, I believe God gives a grace to families that are involved in like tradition, like in ministry full time.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are some intentionalities that we have to be very, Marcia is just like a super mom and wife. She's just like a pillar. So the family continues, everything continues on kind of this normal routine in many ways. And then there's times where it seems like we don't know what the routine is, And so there's a flexibility that our family has that most families don't have the privilege of experiencing. And maybe it's but we try to stay consistent with several things. One is eating together, which is connection. So at least if we can, we eat dinner together. The kids, obviously, I'm not usually there for breakfast, but they're eating breakfast together and spending time in the Word and worship as a family, together. That those things stay consistent. We're traveling and things like that, but that stays consistent. So we're connected. I'm sorry.
Days.
Yeah, and days. Well, those are times where we take our kids out, or dates with the wife, and so with me and Marcia, and so we try to keep the connection with each other, connection with God, consistent, no matter how our days fluctuate, and it's all of the different ministry travels and things like that.
Yeah.
So, our hearts are connected. If we're constantly testing to see, are our hearts still connected? Is everyone on the same page, like relationally, not just spiritually, or practically, or task oriented? You can be accomplishing all the tasks, but not your heart not be engaged with one another. So, are we still connected? We're constantly kind of testing to make sure that we are connected with each other, as well as with our kids.
I'm a very intuitive person, and I'm very vigilant. I'm very in tune emotionally, and I can tell when something's off with my husband. I can tell when he's thinking. I can tell, that's how it is, right? Husbands and wives, we know this.
Yeah.
And I'll always ask, like, hey, what's up? What's going on? What are you thinking? With my kids, because I do have the blessing and the privilege of homeschooling, I know them. I know when something isn't quite right emotionally, or just their eyes aren't right. No, your eyes are telling me you're not feeling well, or you're not happy, or let's talk. Mommy, we're gonna, I don't care if it's my 16-year-old or my 4-year-old boy or my 12-year-old boy. I'm there, and I'm asking, and I'm probing, and I'm connecting. I don't let things just kind of go and slide. Oh, they'll grow out of it. They'll be okay. Teenagers, they get disconnected at this age. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I believe we're supposed to be emotionally whole and connected, whether we're 15, 16, 12, 4 years old, or in our 40s.
Amen. Yeah.
That is so good. Yeah.
I love that. Not buying into what, popular culture will tell you.
Mhm.
And, because Jesus was connected with his father all the time and there was never a disconnect. So I love that. And I think that's really powerful. I also love the fact that you said you check in. Sometimes time passes,
Mhm.
and you hit on this earlier too, Mando, about, hey, a little thing here, a little thing there, a little thing there. Next thing you know, 3 months later, and a molehill's become a mountain. So I love that you're intentional about making sure that, hey, I'm okay, you're okay, and not to just maintain status quo, but there's something that I can feel in your marriage, that you're also thriving for more, right? We can always go deeper. We can go deeper in our connection. We can go deeper in our oneness. And so I don't know if there's anything you want to share just about that. And you're 20 years in, but you got like many, many, many more years to go, and just what you're excited about as you move forward in your relationship.
I always like to prefer her first. That's part of America. Secret to marriage. You want to answer that?
Um, well, I mean, I always say, and we always say, we're gonna be married and we're gonna die after we're 100, and we're gonna die together on the same day. So we have a long time to go to over 100. And so I'm looking forward to every stage. I don't say, oh, I can't wait till this, and I can't wait till that, and I can't wait till I get the kids out of the house, and I can't wait. I am enjoying every stage. I'm enjoying the 16-year-old girl stage, and I'm enjoying the 19-month-old girl stage. I'm enjoying the busy husband stage, and I'm enjoying we love it all. I love it all. And every day is, I like it. Every day, our days go by too fast. It's not like we can't wait till this is over. Just every day, I'm enjoying it.
That's so good. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so much in there about, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
That's good.
And something about being in the present,
Mhm.
right? That his presence is in the present. So there's a word that you just released over that, which is this whole, like, we're out there waiting for the moment, but the moment is actually right now. The opportunity is right in front of us. So I love
really
that.
good.
So thank you. So we're going to wind this down because you're at Starbucks, and I do not want that latte. Did you get a cold or a hot latte? I don't know which one you got, but either the ice is melting or the temperature is starting to cool down. So one way or another, we got to get you back to your drinks. I think what I'd love to land on is, there are couples that are in a great place, and it could get greater. And there are folks that are in a good place and they're striving for better. And then there are folks that are in a bad place and they're just trying to hang on and hope that, something will turn overnight. And regardless of those stages, there's probably some common threads and some wisdom that you can pass. So floor is yours. Maybe releasing some words of encouragement, some practical things that you do beyond what you've already shared, just to give folks some hope out there.
Yeah, one thing that I felt was probably one of the most important things to having a strong marriage is for both individuals to be strong. And so a lot of I see people working on marriage. They're trying to work on their marriage, but they're not working on themselves.
Yeah.
They're trying to do marriage techniques and all of these different things, communication techniques, things like that. But they need to go even deeper. So one of the things that I felt like for me, that our first couple years of marriage, we went through 2 to 3 years of intensive healing, like inner healing. Each of us, we went through like 3 years of classes and trainings, and not just trainings, but like intensive healing. And we had to work on ourselves. And to be honest with you, it always starts with me, you know, in marriage, right? If I want my marriage to get better, I could try to create techniques and do all these different things. But ultimately I have to be willing to work on myself. And the other person needs to be willing to work on themselves. And we all know I know what I need to work on in the next 20 years. Or the next 10 years. I already know. I just need to do it. You know? And so when we are committed to doing that, each of us, then our marriage just automatically grows strong. And it's easier to all of the techniques and things that we know we're supposed to do. Those things come a lot easier when we have healed. Each of us has healed. Each of us has made the commitment to heal. And I recommend that for every marriage. If you haven't already, you know, go through deep inner healing. There are lots of programs out there where each person in the marriage can get stronger themselves, and then come together, and it'd be incredible. And so, so I feel like that to me was when it was about year 2 or so, or year 3 of our marriage, that it was like, man, we realized our brokenness initially was seeping into the marriage. And then as we got healed, each of us individually, our marriage was so strong, you know. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but a lot of the wounds have been healed by Jesus. So, yeah,
that's so powerful.
I would encourage anyone who's struggling. I should be struggling in marriage, honestly. I was so broken. But if I can thrive, you can make it. And so working on myself, inner healing was key. I would also say, surround yourself with people who have thriving marriages. Because, you know, if you walk with the wise, you become wise. If all your friends are divorced and, you know, cheating on their, you know, and just trouble, you're going to be like that. And so pray in. If you don't have any, pray in some couples that can help you, that can mentor you, that could be your friends. So that you can grow together.
Amen.
That's so good.
You
so
have anything
good
to say?
No,
I love that.
that's very,
you know, Mando, both of you are spot on, right? Like, it's so spot on. And, you know, we talk about, Trisha and I in our marriage, we talk about bringing our best self into the relationship. And each of us are accountable and responsible for doing that. And if we both do that and we point our eyes towards Jesus, he will draw us closer together. It just happens. And I can't explain it, but it just works, you know. And I agree, Marcia, I totally agree. You know, we become the company that we keep. You know, and, you know, I talk to my kids about this all the time. Influence is happening every day. You're either influencing the people that you're around or they're influencing you. But make no mistake, influence is always happening. And so to be around strengthened marriages where people are also pressing in and being vulnerable and growing and, you know, surrounding ourselves in that way, like, why take advice from someone who probably is on their 5th marriage? Like, you know, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. So I love that insight. I love that wisdom. I think we're gonna wind this down. I mean, we love this. So we always end on asking for maybe again sometime in the future, if you're open to it, because I really do believe in marriage. I believe in the criticality of raising the next generation. I believe in what the impact the healthy marriages has on the kingdom and in the community and in the areas that we live, we work, and we serve. And so, you know, you go back to the beginning of the Bible and it started with, you know, after creation, he created man and woman, and he said, you know, it's not good that man should be alone. So there's something foundational that we need to restore as we think about revival and as we think about kingdom on earth as it is in heaven,
Yeah.
this is so critical. It's the fabric of God's plan. So
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. I can keep going, but we're gonna let you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just want to say that. I mean, just thank you
Yeah.
for being here.
Yeah.
Just that transition into, I think, which is one reason why I believe so strongly in us doing this, because there's so much talk about the billion soul harvest and revival, and and I feel it, which is you guys. I wanted you to talk about Hope California a little bit. I'd love for you to talk about that, but honestly, I believe that will not last. That will not pass down to the future generations if it doesn't. If our marriage is not healed, if our marriage is not strong, it has to start within the family. It has to start within us individually and our marriages for that to actually become a legacy for future generations.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if you wanted us to share anything about Hope California,
Yeah,
or I know we're winding down, but I want to say this. If the families and the marriages of America and the world were revived, we would see revival across the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're right on with that. And the enemy, I believe he knows that if he takes the families down, destroys marriages, destroys families, he can destroy nations. And that's exactly what we've been seeing. Breakdown of our nation really has been, and especially with African Americans, the breakdown of it has been the breakdown of the family. And so when the family is restored and is strong, then man, God can move, and nothing's impossible for the kingdom of God. Yeah. So I love the heart that you guys have, and appreciate being with you. And I think you can have us back on in 20 years.
Well, the good news is we'll still be around too, so it's all good. Amen.
No, we'd love to come back.
We'll come back anytime.
Thank you so much.
So tell us a little bit about Hope California. What is it? What do you do?
Yeah.
What's the
Hope
vision?
California is an initiative, 40-day initiative, really, annually of 40 days of California being just really flooded with the love of Jesus, prayer, worship, unity, and outreach across 10 regions of California. And it culminates with Hope Festivals, or Hope Fest, in 10 different cities, 10 different regions across California. So the Bay Area, San Francisco, Santa Rosa, Sacramento, Fresno, Central Coast, Los Angeles County, San Diego, Orange County, Coachella Valley. Those are 10 regions that we're focusing on next year, where there'll be Hope Festivals simultaneously in April of next year, April 1st and 2nd. So we want to encourage people to get involved and bring hope to our families, bring hope to whatever it is. It was awesome last year when we did it. We had people check themselves into different programs. We're hoping that people who have marriage problems will even come and experience hope in their marriages and their families at these various gatherings, in addition to hearing the gospel, in addition to being set free and healed and all of that. So we're excited for Hope California next year, 2023, April 1st and 2nd. The Hope Fest will happen. And thank you guys. You guys have been partnering and been a great help up there in the San Francisco region.
Yeah, and so where can people go to find out more about it?
You can go to hopecalifornia.us to find out more information.
Okay, perfect.